King of Podcasts proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Brought to you by kingofamazon.com. Go to kingofamazon.com when you do your shopping for Amazon to help the King of Podcasts. Shop for Amazon at kingofamazon.com.
Well, now it's time for me to go ahead and speak out for myself and comment about all the things that are going on with hashtag speaking out. I did a YouTube video last Thursday after this was all streaming started. Actually, it was on Friday, I believe it was, when this was all starting to get started. I know it started on Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday, we started seeing a lot going on last week leading up to this week. And so the last 7 days have been relentless. We have just been seeing accusations after accusations without saying anything that they are correct or true or real or not. I'm not here to dispute that. But there's a whole lot more to be said about this than what everybody else is deciding to say. And for those that might have seen the title of this week's episode, Wrestling Sex Assault Scourge and the New Puritan Purity Pledge, this is where I'm coming from. So there's no doubt about the fact that we've had, since wrestling probably ever started, we've had malfeasance, we have had miscreants, we have had people that have not been proper and have not been respectful to the talent in the back. The locker room it's not so much of a hazing as it is, there is a type of misbehavior going on in the locker rooms in many different organizations. And the one thing that's got to be said is that they range from small end promotions, but then they also go into higher end promotions to the point of we're seeing a number of people that are being called out that have made their way up to major promotions. And that's where we are. When we're seeing NXT stars, NWA, AEW, Ring of Honor stars that are all, and Impact Wrestling stars that are all at the very high end of this issue. And what happened last week was the outcry. And that went on Twitter for several days. Now we're getting the repercussions of it because there is now reactions being done by these promotions. We're going to go through all those now. But what I want to talk about first is where everybody's feeling about this. I don't like what I've been reading from many fans. I know where my wrestling podcast brethren are coming from with this. And this is what I don't like. See, I'm under the impression that most women, they don't want to have pity felt for them. I don't think they want to have, oh, I'm so sorry this ever happened to you, like the white knight kind of feel to it. I don't think any of them want that. No, what they want is change. What they want is a change of attitude and a type of behavior and a process in the locker room that is irreprehensible. That's not acceptable at all. It can't be justified. And no one can do that. No one's able to go and justify this behavior at all. No one can say, and regardless if people want to try to go ahead and say, well, maybe the age is different in a particular state, or maybe it's because the other person that might not have consented might have been inebriated or something else. It's not about the excuses. It's not about any of that. What's being asked for is something that should have been done a long time ago. It's a change. Wrestling just can't be the same old in the locker room. What I care more about is that the wrestling in the ring, there's a respect of the sport of professional wrestling. And it's not just high-flying acrobatics. It's wrestling psychology. It's sportsmanship. It's the way you handle yourself, whether you're a heel or a face. It's creating great storylines. It's getting booked and trying to work your way up to get the brass ring, the main event, whether it be WrestleMania or a world title in your promotion. Those are the things to strive for. And when you're seeing the kind of environment that's being created, one of the things I noticed that I always felt like was a little bit off is because there is so much inter-office relationships going on within all these promotions. What we're seeing more than ever is we're seeing a lot of couples together. I'm not justifying or denying at all. But the one thing is, there's something to be said about the environment of people hooking up with each other and getting together from each other at work. I'm of the impression that's not a good thing. But I can understand where people, it's like an Olympic Village. There are beautiful, good-looking, good-looking bodied people in great shape with the same kind of mission as you. And so there's going to be some attraction in between, and that's understood. And then there are those, because there's so much, bunny hopping going on in the locker rooms of all these different promotions, that, there's a whole aura of sex and relationships and just fooling around that's going on in the back of the locker rooms. Well, this is acceptable behavior. I mean, if these people are getting the hookup beforehand and they're fooling around and finding ways to go ahead and spend time with each other, maybe it's not in the ring, maybe it's not when they're with the promotion, but they may be on tour with the promotion. They might be, traveling to a promotion and working a promotion and might be there, and they're not working for that night, but they are there in that town for that promotion to work for that promotion. As far as I'm concerned, there's a professional behavior you're supposed to have for your job. At least some kind of morals. I mean, I'm not expecting people to get you just got to be responsible. And responsible is pretty simple. I mean, I don't understand where all the other wrestlers are not looking after each other, policing this kind of stuff. I'm saying, listen, you want to go fuck around with another girl, then you don't take a girl who's a groupie. I don't think that would be necessarily good. I mean, if the girl is absolutely consensual or the guy is absolutely consensual, all right. But that's upon you. And you're taking your career in your own hands by doing that, by messing around with somebody that you're not meeting under normal circumstances. Now, you want to find somebody that, hey, I'm not against anybody who wants to go and find an escort, or they want to find somebody that's they found at a bar or a club they want to fool around with. Again, consensual is consensual. And also of age. And more importantly, don't shit where you eat. Why are people deciding to go ahead and fool around so much in the locker room? I notice some of the people that do really well, they're not in relationships here within the promotion. They're outside of the promotion. How many people really have done well with relationships that they made inside the promotion? It's got to be tough. It's like a celebrity relationship. It's got to be tough to keep people together and, create a family and do all of that. Because when you ask yourself, how many people have we seen so far that have done this, that have really, it's really pushing the bar? There are some that have succeeded in some way, shape, or form. I look at JoJo and Bray Wyatt. I look at Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan. John Cena and Nikki Bella were together for a while. CM Punk with AJ Lee. And then there's some others that you can just tell, I'm not sure. But remember, some of these people that are together, they're not together about to have kids. Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, they're about to have a kid together. I mean, there are legitimate relationships being made, and people are meeting with each other, and they just find each other at work. But I think I've always been under the impression I don't try to date at work. I don't think it's a great idea. If you fool around, I guess that happens, but I wouldn't want to do that either. I don't think it's a good idea. It's not professional. But adults are going to be adults. And I think there's got to be a morals clause that you put into the independent contractors deal that really states that out. But again, it's the independent contractors deal that really puts things out here to allow wrestlers to do things, and what are the promotions going to do to reinforce or to regulate or to, police the situations that are going on? I mean, you're booking these people as independent contractors. And so what they do outside of the ring and outside of the promotion during work, it's upon them. But their problem is that they are fooling around in some cases with other wrestlers. And we knew more than anything else. Now, it was a different story probably when you had the divas and you had women that were more valets and there were more just eye candy, or they were just used for different and managerial roles and were not in ring wrestling in a ring as much as it was now. 70s, 80s, I can imagine, likes of Baby Doll or Francine in ECW. Baby Doll, I'm thinking of World Class Championship Wrestling in NWA. I can imagine Missy Hyatt also having stories. I can imagine Medusa's having stories. Or Tori Wilson, or Gorgeous George, or Kimberly Page, or Stacy Keibler, or Tammy Lynn Sitch, or others. I mean, there's a lot to be said there. And women were treated differently in those days. 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. And you had a lot of men. It was basically a men's sport. Announcers were men. You had men, doing the backstage interviews with the wrestlers. It was a men's sport, mostly male oriented. And then the gender changed because of the fact that we had more women infiltrating and getting themselves into wrestling, because that's just it was the evolution of time, the evolution of sports. How would wrestling not be a part of this? But now at the point, wrestling, when it comes to women and men, are starting to be about as equal as you can get. And so the women that are here, they might have tolerated certain things back in the day or not said anything because it just wasn't proper, because it was the code of wrestling back in the day. Well, the code has to change. There can't be one. It can't be a code of silence anymore. We're seeing what happened as a result of there being a code of silence. We're seeing now the ramifications of it. We're seeing the effects, the trauma, and the absolute consequences of all this happening. My biggest problem about all this is that we had a Me Too movement not too long ago. We had that. Why are we now here? What did it take so long for us to get to this point? Because Me Too movement, it started really happening to be coming to light, the Me Too movement back in 2017. We've had 3 years since. It was October 2017 when Alyssa Milano put out the first Me Too retweet on Twitter. And that's where it all started. And then everybody started coming across. And that is what was happening once again. We're here once again. Why this is now happening? What kind of a fucking code is there to have allowed this kind of behavior to happen? And what I don't like is the same fucking response from everybody in the wrestling media and those podcasters out there that decide just to go ahead and feel sorry. I don't want the women to feel sorry. I want them to not be mistreated. I don't want them to be treated like shit. I don't want any of these women or any of these guys, whoever has been affected by this. It's unacceptable. And I'm no Puritan. What I'm talking about is you're going to go fuck around. Go fuck around outside of the job. What are you doing this in wrestling? I know you have some beautiful people that you're in front of, or there's somebody that you're working with that you feel like you got to have some. You know what? Get your jollies off with somebody else. Go find a girl that's blonde or brunette that looks just as good as her. You can find them. Go find them and go fuck them if you want. Do it the old-fashioned way. Go find you a girl that wants to hook up with you and go fuck her, if that's what you want to go do. You want to get your mind off of stuff. You want to get, whatever frustrations, whatever horniness you got, go ahead and take that. Do that. But this right here, it's too much. I don't give a shit if you want to get a pro. I don't give a shit if you want to find somebody that's out there. But again, the ring rat mentality, how it was allowed for many years, I'm just surprised that the wrestlers did not try to manage this themselves. Where's the damn wrestlers court going on with this? This should have never gotten out. It did because now everybody knows about it because Twitter is just the way it is. The fact that we have to have all these women and all these people have to go and respond back. And again, I say it all the time. If we're here having all these different wrestlers now having to explain themselves or apologize or whatever, do you understand? You reap what you sow. The shit that you do is going to come back to bite you. And it did right now. So Joey Ryan, Dave Crist, Marty Scurll, Dave Lagana, Jack Gallagher, Jordan Devlin. I mean, there's a big... last I heard it was 35 people according to Wrestling Observer. This is fucking nuts. How this was allowed to be tolerated. And I don't expect the companies to really do what they can do about this. Because again, WWE put out a statement last week. They said, listen, if we will have to do internal investigations. And you know what? They're going to base everything on what actions are taken by outside authorities. An arrest, it's a suspension. A conviction is release. What else are you going to do? The only thing these promotions can do is take away their paychecks. Take away their career, their livelihood. That's the one punishment you can do. And you can expect the company to do much more outside of that. I don't know if I can expect certain promotions to really do much more than what they already did. Again, these are independent contractors. So the independent contractors have to basically manage themselves. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are. I don't know what else you do about this. But again, we're having so many things we're dealing with right now. From the panic porn starting to reapproach once again because everybody's all scared about coronavirus cases. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit because now we got new cases that are coming up and certain wrestlers getting quarantined now because they were in contact with someone that had cases. Again, cases. Are they deaths? Can anybody explain that to me? Is anybody saying that about it at all? Are we looking at that? We only hear cases and then everything falls apart. Stock market falls out. More masks being asked for. People trying to hold back on reopening. All this shit. When the real information is not getting out. We need purveyors. We need people that are actually voice of the voices. We need actually people, when it comes to news, we need news media to actually be holding people accountable with the stories they tell. Not holding people accountable for some particular agenda or some kind of political bias. No. And the same way here with wrestling, there should be people that are locker room leaders. When some of this shit hits the fan, this gets handled. Personally, I would prefer that none of this stuff got out here and got called out. I would have preferred that wrestlers would do what they do in the old school days. If there's a punishment that needs to be dealt, I'm not going to find out what that punishment is, but that's going to be on the wrestlers to go ahead and handle themselves, manage themselves, wrestlers court, handle it. This is not just get silently coded. No. And what are these wrestlers? There's a lot of mid-carders in this fucking list, right? How are they allowed to get away with this? And you're telling me the main eventers or other people, are they worried about their own spots or something like that? Like, first of all, wouldn't you want to make sure that people that are not doing the right thing, you don't want them to take your spot. So why don't you get them the fuck out and get them out of this bullshit that's going on? Because we do not need people that are not here to do the sport of professional wrestling. You want people that want to fucking wrestle. If they want to fuck around, then get the fuck out. I don't understand why nobody else wants to say this. And I must be the only one that's deciding to speak out like this. Everyone else is like, it's an outrage, it's an outcry. Well, you know what? Nobody's calling out the wrestlers and explaining. Because, listen, for me, I'm not getting any wrestlers to come on to this show. It's not a matter of that. I had one wrestler in my time who actually came on here, and he's not even in the business right now, as far as I know. Other than that, I've had nobody else. I'm not looking to try to get free tickets and any kind of merchant shit or any kind of adulation from the fans or WWE or other podcasters for that matter. It's not my thing. Listen, I got this little quaint little podcast I've had for almost 8 years, and I enjoy it. But this kind of shit just it just bothers me. I don't understand why everybody, this kind of wrestling tabloid gossip shit. The case is the coronavirus. This speaking out issues, the allegations. Now, don't get me wrong. There is validity to it, and there is a seriousness to all of this. But man, does this get blown out of proportion by people so much. I hate it. I hate all this. I hate the outcry and the scare of people, because what I can't stand now, more than anything else, is the outcry of wrestlers and the outcry. Wrestling and wrestlers are getting woke. Do you understand you're going to basically abandon part of your fan base? And do you ask yourself the question, do you think there might be some people that just don't want to deal with this bullshit? That your wrestlers, they're not actually worrying about doing shit in the ring? Sure, you want to go ahead and support your feelings, your passions, your morals, okay? Kevin Owens wants to not be a part of, wrestling during the coronavirus. Understand that. Roman Reigns, same thing. Understand that. Fine. So step away out of it. Fine. But then I get upset when he's getting all upset about Jackson Riker. Oh, okay. Yeah. Do people like the fact that he said what he said? That's not my problem. I don't worry about that. I'm sitting on the fence. I do not care about this political bullshit. But then, so he's going to have his thoughts about coronavirus, and he's going to go ahead and, sit home, take care of his family. Hey, respect to him. But then the shit with Jackson Riker, double standard here, right? And I don't like the fact of seeing the women, for any reason or not, I don't like when the women are being treated as victims. They're survivors, okay? Because these are not active cases. This happened to them. They are It's like rape. They are survivors. So this is not like it's something brand new to them. They've been sitting with this shit right now, some of them for months, some of them for years, and did not say anything at all. And they've had to hold back and say anything, right? And we're hearing about this all the time. I mean, how many times I've had to go and talk about stories about people confronting issues that were said, right? I hate all of this. What was it about the one Spanish wrestler that came out, and I think it was the one that fought Sexy Star and all that kind of stuff? There was a few other things that happened. I can't think of it right off the top of my head. But again, the victim, the people here playing white knights, acting, it's a matter of support. But not the white knight bullshit support because the girl's hot. We don't need that shit. These women are professionals. And these women who are professionals were fucked with at work. Instead of going and trying to go and placate to the victimhood, call out the fucking people that did it and get them the fuck out of the wrestling business. Because we don't need that kind of behavior in wrestling. There's already enough trouble right now trying to go and keep some kind of a reputation or some kind of decency or order going on with wrestling. We already know WWE already has their issues with their whole corporate bullshit in the first place, which, they're going to handle things the way they handle it, and that's not going to be perfect, okay? People don't like the fact they go to Saudi Arabia. They don't like the fact of how they handled, whatever they do. But no matter what, all these outlying factors you can't be doing all this shit and this gets away from the actual reason people are there to wrestle. Okay? Let me tell you something. When the New Day came out 2 weeks ago, okay, and they put Black Panther salutes up there, and their respect on also showing, what was it, Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and whoever else on the wristbands, right? When I saw Bobby Lashley, wasn't it him who also had Black Lives Matter on his trunks? You know, showing symbolism, showing solidarity. I fucking love that. Let me tell you something. That is what I expect from my wrestlers. You want to support a cause, that's what you do. Because that messaging gets more. And then the stuff that you do behind the scenes, right? If you're donating, if you're, supporting certain causes, getting out to the streets. Like damn Titus O'Neil does it all the time. He's not even in the ring. He's out there doing outreach for WWE, which is great. But the kind of stuff I saw right there from Kofi Kingston and Big E, love it. Good. Bobby Lashley, good. Yes. By all means, support. And if you want to show support, then you find a way to support. You want to wear hashtag speaking out on trunks, or put it something where you can put it on your person and show in the ring that you are trying to represent your best, right? And what you do is you work with the people that you work for, and you make sure you tell them, listen, I don't want to work for you if this is kind of bullshit you're allowing to go on. If you're going to hire these people and they're going to be these kind of fucking miscreants, these bad actors, you get them out. And that's what's happening now. So the companies are doing the right thing. People are getting kicked out. They're being done. But now, as for what they really should be getting, the real punishment, their livelihood being taken away is one thing. But if the allegations are true, I mean, I would like to go and see maybe a fund be put together or something. Like, why don't I hear something about, trying to go ahead and get some kind of money being put together for a legal fund so that these women can go ahead and get together class action and then start going after the wrestlers that attacked them, that assaulted them, that violated the sanctity of their womanhood, that they caused physical and emotional harm to them. So if this is upon the women, we can try to support in that end where legal ramifications can be done. Because if the statute of limitations still applies, then, and you can actually show evidence, then yeah, get the fucker. Get him. It shouldn't be where we're seeing just the accusations back and forth on Twitter. It does nothing. Because the accusations cannot be validated. I mean, I'm not trying to dispute that they're not valid, but we can't validate all this because the court of public opinion is not the place to put this out. The courtroom system, the justice system, local, regional, federal, that is who handles this shit. So I would expect somebody who's a lawyer to say, hey, I'll represent you if you're looking to go after Joey Ryan or Dave Crist or whoever else, and these women come together. Like, let me tell you, you want to go find fucking Nancy Allred or Lisa Bloom to come out here and go handle this shit? I'm surprised those two women have not come on board to go ahead and represent some of these women to put lawsuits out there. And not just lawsuits, criminal actions. Because what's happening is criminal. We can't just go ahead and put people down and make them feel like a pity party. Whether it's the wrestlers feeling sorry for themselves or the women being treated like victims. No, they're fucking survivors. Do you understand that? This needs to be understood crystal clear. I hate that all these people were affected by all this speaking out stuff. The ones that were mistreated, the ones that did it, they can't just be called out. They need to be reckoned with. So if they need to be arrested, they need to be indicted, they need to serve time or pay restitution or whatever it might be, that should happen. Because these are, as far as I'm concerned, sexual assaults. These are statutory rapes in some cases. And sexual misconduct of many different sizes, shapes, and whatever. This is a big, black eye to the business. I mean, it's already bad enough that, people that think professional wrestlers don't have any kind of morals or attitudes or just dumb people. And that the fans are always looked at as like the lowest common denominator. I don't like that either, but it is that portrayal, that kind of stigma that stays with it. And it's because of things like this that keep wrestling in the mud. For all that WWE tries to do to professionalize what they do, listen, they got damn Fox Sports and NBC Universal deals. They got a damn deal. They got a damn broadcast deal, the likes of UFC and NASCAR and any major league sport. ESPN, Fox Sports, Sports Illustrated treats them like a fucking sport, even though it's fake. Or, it's predetermined, right? It's not fake. Wrestling is real, remember? But you have all this effort to try to push up. And remember, for WWE and for AEW especially, they're trying to be socially, cultural, and cognizant of what they're doing because they want to be able to be, in some cases, woke, or at least in some cases, ahead along with the times. They've modernized themselves to realize the same old wrestling can't be what it is. And it's not because it's changed. And a lot of things have caused a change. Women wrestlers, in my opinion, are the women's wrestling is just as significant and as important as the men. So equal time for the women and men, I'm fine with that. I am totally fine with that. In WWE, it doesn't make a difference to me. A lot of times I think the women's matches they're starting to get much better in WWE than the men's matches. There's a lot more room for storytelling. There's a lot more room to do a lot of things, right? So think about that. There you got that, and then AEW in the same way. Listen, they have the first transgender. They have someone who's openly gay. Well, even NXT has someone who's openly gay. More acceptance, diversity, inclusion, people of color, all different persuasions, genders, ideals, beliefs, ideology, intersectionality, whatever. I'm not against any of that. I just don't like anybody else's agenda being put in my face and being shoved down my throat. I don't like that. But I want people to live the way they want to live. Do as you like, but within the law. Because here's the other thing. All these men that did all this shit, I don't know if there were any women that have been called out for this, but all these people that have been called out for these allegations, if all true, they violated the law. So do what you want to fucking do, but do it under the letter of the law. You don't get to break the law. That's what it sounds like all these people that were called out on allegations, the allegations being made were criminal. And they require legal action or criminal action. But just getting it out there, like this is like, rape counseling, and this is not going to, it's, when women are talking to other women, other survivors talk to other survivors to try to get themselves to move on with their lives. That's one thing. But really, do all these women wrestlers, do they only want to just tell their story, get the person called out, and that's it? That's not what they should want. What they should want is much more. They should want vindication. They should want a chance to feel feel redeemed. That, that this violation of their womanhood was not in vain and did not get overlooked and did not get checked. The women should want to get checked, so they should actually go ahead and get together in a coalition, officially press charges or file, civil lawsuits or whatever you're going to do against these wrestlers. And do it. The people to go ahead and tell me if I'm wrong or if they feel like I'm a little bit off of what I'm saying. And that's okay. I welcome debate and discourse in this program because honestly, this story, and I'm glad I got a few days to go ahead and put this in front of me so I could talk about it, because it's fucking nuts. So there's a lot of stories that have come out about this, and I'm going to go through some of them, especially several of the names that were really suspect of more than anything else, that really did shit the bed and really did some stupid shit. Because it's time to go and talk about that. Because some of these allegations are heinous. Very much so. I'm probably not even going to talk about the coronavirus, because I think the way I finish this up, we're going to keep going, because it's just, I mean, damn, man. It's all this shit going on. So I don't know who to start with first. I guess, well, man. Let's try first with Marty Scurll. I think he's the biggest culprit. Probably the biggest scumbag of them all right here. I'm sorry. Regardless of how good his wrestling work is, this is not acceptable. So first of all, Marty Scurll took to Twitter on Tuesday, responded to allegations that he slept with a 16-year-old girl. Okay. This happened allegedly in 2015 when he wrestled for IPW UK. He would have been 26 years old at the time. I'm going to go into a little bit of his first statement and how he explained what was going on. So I guess one of the promoters would constantly purchase drinks at the events. So he was incredibly drunk in this particular occasion. Well, actually, this is the female wrestler. Well, I don't know who the name is. We don't see a name for it, but here's what's going on. Now, she said this. Later on in the night, I bumped into Marty Scurll outside of a party venue. It's been a while, saying that we should go back together. Let's go back to the hotel. Let's fuck. I told him, quote, I don't have a key for my hotel room. My friend only has the only one. End quote. I remember that I did actually go inside and tell that friend I was about to head off with Marty, but she wouldn't give me the keys because she thought it was a bad idea. Despite knowing I couldn't get back in my hotel room, he walked me back to my hotel. For context, it was kind of an independent small hotel. Once we got outside my room, in his empty, quiet hallway, he sat on a chair, got his penis out, and told me to suck it. So I did. After a little while, he found a cupboard opposite my room full of sheets. He took me in there and got me to stand up with my underwear pulled down. The whole time he was getting me in a position to stick his unprotected penis inside of me. I was repeatedly saying, I'm so sorry, I'm a virgin. Disclaimer. I had actually been raped by Dan Edler, who was a promoter for this particular promotion, I guess it is at this point, which I've detailed over and over in the past to the public and the police, but I personally still consider myself to have my virginity up until April that year. Now, before he even had the chance to penetrate me, the aforementioned friend turned up and told him to leave. The next day, he didn't turn up for his match. Everyone knew we had kissed, so it was quickly circulating I was a slut, but not the part where he sexually assaulted a drunk child. After that, Dan Edler said he would never book him again, but he considered me his girlfriend, and he was jealous that something happened between me and another man, but that's a separate thing. Now, Marty Scurll then released several statements. I'm going to read from the second statement. He says, in 2015, after a wrestling event in the UK, I had a brief consensual sexual encounter with a woman. In that moment, I had at a bar in no circumstances. I had no cause to question her age. I don't say any of this lightly to seek absolution for my ignorance, although I did not become aware of her age until after the encounter. The reality of the age disparity is not lost on me. I understand that although our encounter was technically legal in the UK, my lack of good judgment that evening has disappointed many fans. This week, the woman I'm referencing bravely shared her stories of abuse she experienced while attending wrestling events during that time period. My name has been included in one of those recollections she had shared. I can only speak to what I know to be true and my own actions. I'm not going to go on the rest of this. Now, he says, trying to be sanctimonious after all this stuff, after he gets called out for this shit, because, he admits something that he does know the woman, and he did have some kind of interaction with her after an event. As for forgiveness, he says, For those of us with a voice that can reach beyond our own doorsteps, it is our shared responsibility to be better and do more. The system must change to protect the most vulnerable and provide an ecosystem where female fans and athletes can engage and participate safely. The time is now. As a person who has been identified as part of the problem, I am unreservedly committing to be part of the solution. But you can't be part of the solution. You've done nothing to atone. I mean, and I'm not saying anything about that you need to go and do any atoning. Listen, you did it. You're admitting to something here. As far as I'm concerned, your statements can be used in a court of law. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. Listen, you had time to be successful in this business. You did what you did. Well, you're persona non grata now. I mean, listen, any wrestling promotion decides to go and book you shouldn't. I would think that there should be a new code that any wrestling promoters should not be able to hire anybody with any kind of, well, the thing is, first of all, there should be some criminal action done about this. Because then when this happens, you do a thing where the promoters will not want to work with somebody who has a criminal record or has run-ins with the law. That's what causes the change. It's the fact that you actually start seeing people not just try to say they want to be part of the solution. No, you can't be part of the solution. You're part of the problem. You said that correct, Marty. And you might talk about better security protocols at events. Well, no. So it's trying to protect you. No, but you want to be part of it. No. You don't get to be a part of this. You shouldn't be. Shouldn't be allowed. And that's where I'm thinking. That's how it should be. Ridiculous. The next person who also is really tell you what. Joey Ryan, another, a real profile in debauchery. Another profile in perversion. I didn't know he actually lived this fucking gimmick before cancel culture. How ironic is all of this? So Joey Ryan has deleted his social media accounts in the wake of over a dozen allegations. Last I heard, 17. Who kept allowing this to happen? Who accepted this bullshit to keep going? I don't understand how this was acceptable behavior by everybody out here and allowing this to happen. How could this all continue to happen after all this time? Amazing. All right, so Joey Ryan, his allegations came to light over the last few days following the rape allegations about David Starr. So here is one particular wrestler on Twitter at The Rock C. And here's what she wrote. As someone who has dealt with things like anxiety and depression caused by things outside of wrestling, mental health problems are not an excuse to make wrestling anything other than a safe space. I saw a certain story the other day on Joey Ryan that made me feel sick to my stomach. I always thought of him as a good friend. He was always so nice to me. Always stayed cautious when I was around him. Respected him just like I was taught to respect any vet in the business. I assumed it was common knowledge for a 40-year-old man to not flirt with someone underage, but obviously not. The first uncomfortable comment he made to me at a show was, quote, "I feel so bad for flirting with you." I said, "What?" He replied, "I feel so bad for flirting with you because you're 17. I could be your dad." And he laughed. In another instance, when she turned 18, I had to drop him off at his hotel at a local show. I told the promoter I did not want to because Joey made me feel uncomfortable. But he insisted I did, so I felt I had no choice. During the mostly quiet and uncomfortable car ride, he asked for a piece of gum and asked, in case you want to make out. I brushed it off with an awkward laugh, and I pulled up to the hotel. He asked if I wanted to get down, and I denied. He said, well, it was worth a shot. See, the stories that have come up made me realize these were not jokes, but ways to try and abuse his position of power. Whenever I would tell someone the things Joey would say, they would tell me, that's just the way Joey is. So I dealt. But no, it shouldn't be that way, and no one should ever have to feel uncomfortable in any locker room. I am disgusted reading stories about his actions behind closed doors. Will no longer share any locker room with him. Well, with that said, not only him, another person comes up and talks about that he booked her on his 18th birthday just so she could grab his dick. And there were others that went anonymous. Like, I'm looking at wrestlingnews.co. I put the link into the description this week so you can take a look at the load of stories that have been coming up. And I haven't read all the stories because it's just too much to talk about. And it's just fucking incredible. So as of press time, Impact Wrestling has fired Joey Ryan, has fired Dave Crist, has suspended Michael Elgin in Impact Wrestling. Now, Elgin was accused of sending unsolicited photos, while Crist had been accused of abuse in addition to sending unsolicited photos. Now, back to Joey Ryan. He had faced serious allegations of sexual assault amid the movement, with several women who had shared stories of sexual misconduct within the pro wrestling industry. Several promotions have responded, including Progress Wrestling, OTT Wrestling, and British Wrestling Revolution, all taking disciplinary action. And Joey Ryan would address this in a lengthy statement before deleting his Twitter account. Quote, after speaking with my attorney, I've been advised not to respond to any specific allegations at this time. And the truth of the matter is, I do not want to spend time dissecting which parts of the story are true, which parts are different from what I remember, and which things are outright false. It's important for me to use this platform to take responsibility and to not attempt to minimize the feelings of anyone that was hurt by me in order to save face. Listen, he says he entered counseling in 2018, continues to attend a week every day. Jimmy Havoc said the same thing after assaulting, I guess, his girlfriend, and now he's in rehab. Still doesn't answer to the fact that he actually did this stuff, and it was allowed to happen. Multiple female wrestlers have accused Joey Ryan of sexual assault, including Sierra Loxton, Mae Young, competitor Vanessa Craven, and Corrine Mink, who claim Ryan groped her in her car after she picked him up at an airport. Incredible. Now, the other one that we have in here was Sammy Guevara, which is a different story because he said something being insensitive. And he was insensitive. Now, him getting suspended without pay, a difference between him actually doing something and just saying something. So the suspension that he got and the apology to Sasha Banks, okay, I think that's justified. And it's been called out. He's going to get outcried for it. It's going to be on his person forever. So you got that to go work with. And by the way, AEW, to its part, I do appreciate what they said in their statement when they decided to go and suspend Sammy Guevara. They said they insist on doing our part to create a world of understanding and respect for humankind. We therefore strongly condemn the extremely offensive and hurtful words of Sammy Guevara. As such, effective immediately, Sammy is suspended without pay until further notice. He's agreed to undergo extensive sensitivity training, and upon completion, his future status with the company will be reevaluated. And during his suspension, his salary will be donated to the Women's Center of Jacksonville. Good. And here's what he said. Listen, you know what? You say something on a recording, if it's a camera, if it's a podcast, whatever it is, you say something. I don't know why he said this and why it went through. Obviously, this was not a live show. This had to be I don't know. But again, he talked about a trial he had taken part in the Performance Center. In the clip, he says, bro, Sasha Banks, oh my God. When I was at the WWE the other week, I just wanted to go fucking rape that woman. Bad choice of words. Bad choice of words, Sammy. I don't know why you thought that was a good idea, but, you know, he said it. He copped up to it, and it's being acted on. Listen, punishment fits the crime. That, I think, is right there. But that's not going to say anything to everything else, because here's Jim Cornette. Says he's, quote, I've been charged with having an interesting sex life. So in his latest podcast, he strongly denies the accusations made by independent wrestler Phil Early, who claims Jim's wife Stacy attempted to groom him early in his career by sending unwanted lewd photos and harassing messages. Cornette would say, quote, I have never offered any wrestler, male or female, preferential treatment, a job, a contract, a push, or anything else related to their employment, or threatened the opposite if they would or would not engage in ribald relations with me or my wife. No female wrestler that I ever worked with in OVW or anywhere else, to my recollection, has ever said I have talked to them or treated them improperly, except when critiquing their matches or performance of same. But treated them improperly or with any personal or language or actions of that description, I have not been involved with anyone under legal age. I have never sent inappropriate texts, pictures, sexts, or whatever to anybody, because I never sent a damn text to anybody. I've never done it on Facebook for the same reason. I've never slept in the same bed with a woman and not had sex with them, and it wasn't a surprise to anybody that was involved with it when it happened. Nobody I've ever known in the biblical sense has ever been forced or coerced in any way to be there, and all seemed happy to take part and happy when it was over. You could take that as you will. I'm not being accused of cheating on my spouse by my spouse or significant other, because whenever that's happened, she's either known about it or been there when it took place. But my own wife is not mad at me for anything. So apparently that just leaves, when you take all those other things out, fun. That's what you're left over with. It's just fun. Day off, personal time amongst friends, fun. Isn't everybody supposed to have their fun? I don't know. He goes on, but I'll just leave it right there. So with that said, this is a fucking outcry. For all this to be allowed and acceptable is so wrong in so many different ways. I don't know. There's continuing stories. It doesn't stop. Chikara Pro Wrestling also being affected by this. Kimberly, who just recently joined Impact Wrestling. In a wake of abusive allegations toward female trainees and staff members at Chikara, Kimberly has made a decision to leave the promotion. Quote, I'm just sick. As of now, I cannot in good conscience remain a part of Chikara Pro. Consider this my resignation as a princess. Don't know if I'll be back on here today. This one really hurts. And the allegations were specifically also against owner Mike Quackenbush. According to PW Insider, Quackenbush is set to announce that Chikara is permanently shutting down. And he's reportedly resigning as the head trainer at Wrestle Factory Training Academy in Philadelphia. And he joins a growing list of Chikara wrestlers who have left the company, including Dasher Hatfield, Jacob Hammermeyer, and Frightmare. Kimberly joined the company for 2014 outside of a year and a half stint with NXT, and competed for Chikara fairly regularly. And like I said, she was appearing on Impact Wrestling most recently on their tapings. So it's all come to light. Got that part. When you look at Pro Wrestling Sheet and all these other wrestling websites, man, it's all fucking tabloid shit. It's ridiculous. I mean, listen, hey, credit to Ryan Satin for doing his TMZ shit in wrestling. Now, he picked a wonderful fucking time to be a part of it. Because look at the shit we have right now. A lot of really bad, unnecessary, and I mean unnecessary, we should have unacceptable talk right here. This has nothing to do with wrestling. And I'm fucking sick and tired of talking about stuff that has nothing to do with wrestling. We're not talking about, Extreme Rules coming up in a couple weeks. We're not talking about Fighter Effects next week. No, because this is the stuff everybody was talking about. I'm not going to go ahead and just beat around the bush. I don't want to talk about gossip. But then again, what else am I going to do? I might as well talk about this. I don't like it, but what else are we going to do? Might as well go through it. Dave Lagana also caught up in the allegations. He adamantly denies the situation. But nevertheless, he stepped down from his position in the NWA. And stepped down from his role of vice president with the National Wrestling Alliance. So, Pro Wrestling Sheet reported that wrestler Liz Savage claimed that Lagana sexually assaulted her in 2010 while the two were living together as friends. Savage said they shared a bed in a non-sexual way, but one night she claims to have woken up with his hand down her pants while he was touching himself. And everybody has to bring out allegations and all this other shit. At the moment, NWA content is temporarily halted because Lagana was doing the most of it, and now there's a restructuring of executive management positions due to Lagana's exit. So we're seeing a lot of things being affected. But again, it's this environment. This acceptable bullshit has been going on for all these years. Jack Gallagher, by the way, released by WWE last week. We mentioned Jimmy Havoc undergoing treatment and counseling, and AEW will evaluate his status with the company. With Jack Gallagher, he was accused of getting a woman drunk and taking advantage of her at a New Year's Eve party in 2014, allegedly making multiple advances to the woman, even ripping down and pulling down her skirt in a bathroom. All this shit right here. Matt Riddle getting caught up in it. But then he decides to go and get a lawyer on board to go and release a statement denying the accusation. Good. Jordan Devlin would call his allegation completely and utterly false. Travis Banks also caught up on this, who's worked at NXT. Also suspended indefinitely from Progress Wrestling. I don't know what happens to him after that. So it's been a hell of a week, folks. A hell of a week. So much going on. It's been hard to keep up with all this, to be honest with you. But again, it has to be repeated again. We have more. We now have Austin Theory being accused of inappropriate behavior with a 13-year-old girl. He's on the main roster of WWE. This is all starting up right now. I mean, it just doesn't stop. So Austin Theory, this female fan alleges that Austin Theory added her to a Snapchat and messaged her, quote-unquote, very gross things. But again, it's still being said that he did it. Austin Theory has yet to react to the allegations. The fans did not have any screenshots of the Snapchat discussions, but she did have photos of herself backstage at the wrestling event, including a photo of herself with Austin Theory. And there are people obviously coming along with what's going on here. Keith Lee made comments about this, about the victimhood. Keith Lee went ahead and made a point about speaking out. Here's another story. We'll talk about this real quick. So I'm going to go into partway into it. Perhaps 2016 or 2017, I was living in Texas still during this time. I was in Dallas for an event, or maybe just to visit family. Afterwards, I went to an old bar I would sometimes visit and sing at. It had been some time, so I was unfamiliar with the atmosphere, but the vibe of the music kept me interested. Eventually, I got to sing a song. Afterward, a young lady asked to sit with me. I was alone, so I did not mind and welcomed her. We wanted to talk about the beauty of music and books, random philosophies on life. It was truly a pleasant conversation. I'm often told that I am oblivious when someone is interested in me. I would have to concur, as I did not realize the interest until she blatantly expressed it, to which I declined. I was always taken at the time. She was still disappointed, but pleasant. She would continue to make passes throughout the night, saying all she wanted to do to me. I politely declined and explained I enjoyed the company, but the chat could not continue. I then offered to buy her a drink as an apology before I headed to the restroom. She declined and said she'd buy me one because she enjoyed my song so much that I could go ahead for the bathroom. I expressed gratitude and went to put in a song before heading to the restroom. I would return to fresh drinks, continue discussing the types training I do, try to get her to sing, but she would act shy and decline, saying she enjoyed listening to others, but didn't want attention on her. I even offered to help with Bohemian Rhapsody. It's kind of my go-to when people are nervous about karaoke. I like that he likes karaoke. That's pretty cool. I try to be inviting, and that song is pure fun. The song is pure fun. Unfortunately, it's right around here things became extremely fuzzy for me. No matter how much I rack my brain, all I find myself able to recall is struggling to make it to the stage. I recall waking up naked in a hotel room. I don't even recall if it was my room, confused and in a panic. I was fortunate enough to have my essentials such as my wallet and phone, but who knows what all I lost. To that day, I know not what happened. I have tried to forget about it ever since. But I tell this story so people understand. Anyone can be a victim. Anyone. It is why I randomly stopped drinking, which is why it's as rarity such to stay. So again, it's just responsibility for everybody. And for Keith Lee, it's unfortunate that this woman just can't take for no for an answer. But that's, who knows what happened to Keith Lee? It shouldn't have happened. But again, that's another story around the other way around. But again, it's like the decisions that you make as a wrestler. So Keith Lee's accounting for his decisions being made. Going to a bar and, when he finds out the girl is not interested or is interested and is trying to kind of push the favor and gets the drink spiked, there's something wrong. Overstayed the welcome, probably. That's unfortunate because, if he was enjoying himself there, it's unfortunate this woman was being underhanded and that was a really shitty thing to do. But we're seeing it all across the board. It's just too much. I don't like any of this going on right now. This is uncalled for. Okay, one other story I want to talk about now. Renee Young apparently has confirmed she's tested positive for COVID-19. She tweeted Wednesday night saying, "Man, what a few days. My show gets canceled and I get COVID. Wear your masks and wash your hands. Stay safe, everyone." Multiple people who had been at the Performance Center tested positive for COVID-19 this week. Because of that, more testing will be done prior to the next batch of tapings. And now WWE is going to be testing for COVID before every taping going forward. Jon Moxley was pulled from Dynamite this evening after coming in contact with someone who also tested positive for COVID-19, which would now seem to be Renee since the two live together. I know QT Marshall also quarantined himself because someone he was with was in contact and had COVID-19, tested positive for COVID-19. But again, this should not go and change the fact that people need to go and feel like coronavirus is coming back. This is no second wave. I just think people just need to be a little more cognizant. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Florida, where I'm at in Palm Beach County and other areas in Broward and Miami-Dade, in the higher affected areas, in the higher populated areas, especially in Florida, I know in Texas and California and other places in New York, they're enforcing masks. And then they're basically making it where it's law to wear masks in public places. And if you don't, you are cited. You get a citation. And some places they're trying to offer jail time as punishment, which I think is severe. Either which way, here we are. This all sucks. And we're at this point where now, we're at the point where we have to go and deal with this. How unfortunate. I really want to stop talking about stuff like this. I want us to get back to wrestling. I don't know about you. I feel like I just ranted here for over an hour and just pissed off. It's such bullshit. It's such bullshit. I don't know, man. This puts, I don't think more people are going to be outraged and leave wrestling altogether. But there's got to be a change of the code. The wrestlers' code's got to change. And what the wrestlers are doing with themselves, listen, Why are you going to do anything that's going to jeopardize your career, your living? Why do you want to do that? That's my point. That's what you're doing. You're jeopardizing your career. If you're in wrestling, be there for wrestling. Be there for camaraderie, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. Be there for the sport. Have proper sportsmanship. Excuse me. Enough of all this. Okay, leaving it there. I'm done. You can't talk anymore about this. It just outrages me today. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this program tonight as I wrap this up. And I'd love to get your thoughts. kingofpodcasts@yahoo.com, facebook.com/wrestlingisreal. Or go to my Twitter feed @KingofPodcast. And also I'm on Parler, Parler, @KingofPodcast if you want to join me there too. I'm also on Instagram as well, @KingofPodcast. So it's all over the place. Go look for me. And we'll come back next week. We'll talk about Fyter Fest. We'll hopefully not be talking about speaking out. I want this done. Actually, if we're going to talk about speaking out, I want people being held accountable the right way. Throw the book at them. Let's get some legal action. Let's get get some people together to start putting some lawsuits together. The survivors need to act. That's what they need to do. So come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast, brought to you by KingofAmazon.com. For more information on how to subscribe to the show, how to share the Wrestling is Real podcast to listeners like you, and check out the latest wrestling headlines, go to WrestlingIsReal.com. That's WrestlingIsReal.com.